Season's greetings, King CTV family. I hope you had a wonderful celebration with your loved ones. As 2020 comes to an end, I deemed it right to host one last interview on the segment called One-on-One with CHIBUEZE before we move into the new year. But before I go into that, I quickly want to appreciate every one of you for supporting King CTV all the while. Thank you so much for your likes. Thank you for your shares, for your comments, for your subscription. Thank you for inviting others to subscribe. And I hope that as we move into the new year, you would continue to show us the support and encouragement. Don't forget to always, share your opinions because it's so important to us. Thank you so much. On this note, I wish to welcome our distinguished guest tonight on the show tonight, and he's going to be sharing his experiences, his views on 2020, what stood out to him, and what he hopes for coming in the New Year's. So it is my honor, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome Mr. CHIBUEZE Ugoke on the show tonight. You're welcome on the show, Mr. Ugoke. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you. How are you doing? I am doing quite well. As you can see, it has been a very such an interesting year, and yeah, I mean, so far so good. I am well. I am doing well. Yeah, and how are you doing? Well, I am quite well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much once again for making out time to join me on the show tonight. Well, Mr. Ugoke, we are nearing the end of quite an interesting year. How would you summarize 2020 in 3 sentences? Well, like you rightly mentioned, 2020 has been quite an interesting year. Actually, it has been quite an interesting year. To some people, it was positive. People hitting billions of dollars. To some people, it was really positive. To some, it wasn't that negative. It wasn't also that positive. And to some, it wasn't quite good. Like some people lost their lives, to COVID-19. Some people lost their lives to police brutality. So the families of these people, I don't think they would say that 2020 was such an amazing year. But in all, 2020 has, it has had its bad sides. It has also had its, so to say, good sides, positive in a way. Yeah, that's what I would say about 2020. So, but for you as an individual, what stood out to you? How was it for you personally? What stood out to you? Well, for me personally, I wouldn't say that 2020 was completely negative, because I am very thankful for the fact that I am still alive today, and the people around me, everyone is in good health. So irrespective of the fact that 2020 had a lot of pull, on people, myself and people around me, I am still very thankful for the fact that, I made it, I pulled through as well, so yeah, of course there was a lot of things that went on, that could pull someone down, but in all, I am grateful to God that He helped me and helped the people around me overcome. So I can't completely complain, but it could be better. That's just what I would say. It could be better. And what events stood out to you personally in 2020? One of the things that stood out to me the most Well, actually, there were series of events that took place in 2020 that actually stood out to me. Uh, Ranging the from the awakening, on the things that are happening in our society, to moments of self reflection and all that. So I was personally touched by the level of awakening that happened in 2020, even though the pandemic had a toll on everyone. But a lot of people were awakened, and they realized how much social injustices were going on in our societies, how much oppressions and how much evil, were going on in our society. The series of protests that happened, the NSAS protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, protests against the injustices going on in several African countries, like southern Cameroon, like Congo, like Ghana, in Nigeria. A lot of protests, happened, with why because people were speaking up against these injustices. So these protests, they really meant a lot to me personally, and I am so glad that we are coming to that point in our society where we are waking up, where we are understanding that a lot of injustices going on in our society, and we cannot tolerate it anymore. We just have to speak up. I find it quite interesting that you mentioned the protests, that happened in 2020, and um, why do you think people came out in such large numbers, to lend their voices? Well, I think, okay, just like I said earlier, right? 2020 wasn't completely negative, it had its positive side. And I feel like this was one of the positive sides of 2020. For example, before the pandemic arrived, people were so locked up in their walls, that they didn't really have the time to come, and they actually probably saw all these things, all these evils that were going on in our communities, in our societies, because of course this year was not the first time that a video of a black man being killed surfaced in the internet. We've had a lot of it, and people probably were not they did not have so much time, to come and speak up. Of course, they were interested. They really wanted to do something, but yeah, they had to work. They had to, fend for their families. But now, the pandemic had to force everyone to sit at home. So they are sitting at home. They have a lot of time. Now they are. Such video is surfacing again, right? And now they have time to digest this injustice, to take it in and think about it once again, watching this video, and it triggered them. It triggered them a lot, that they were so ready, to come out and protest, to come out and speak up against such injustices. So I think the pandemic was one of the main reasons. The regulations regarding the pandemic was one of the main reasons, why people had to come out in full force as they did. And the other thing is, yeah, people already had enough. They had enough of all these things going on in our societies. They had enough, and now they had a lot of time to do something against it, and that was why they were able to come out to do something. Okay, let us talk a bit about the new year. How do you feel about 2021? About the New Year's. Well, how should I feel? I really don't. Well, I just have to say that I feel hopeful. You know, yeah, we've had such a year. Yeah, I mean, however it is, I still feel hopeful. I really can't say exactly how the new year, the 2021 is going to be, but I feel hopeful. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that because of the how 2020 was. I think it's safe to say that, you know. But how do you think that some of these events, that happened in 2020, how do you think they are going to affect our world in 2021? Okay. Um, I think there will be certain changes, in different areas. You know, Number one, coming from the side of the pandemic, I feel like people will be a bit more careful. I spoke with someone at some point this year, and yeah, the person made quite interesting observations. Like, people are definitely going to be a lot more careful now, with regards to washing their hands, personal hygiene. I think people are going to that on its own is going to affect um, people's lives. I like me from personally, I am very conscious of the fact of whenever I am in public transport, for example, touching surfaces. I'm very very conscious of it. Trying to wash my hands a lot more. I I am, I've had this consciousness, that so this one side which in which the events that happen in 2020 would affect our lives in the near future. And then also, like, what I referenced to earlier about, the NSAS protest in Nigeria. I feel like this served as a wake-up call to Nigerian youths and African youths at large. They are more aware of the fact that they have power. They really have power. They, in their unity, they can do a lot. They can cause a lot of changes. So I think in these ways, and there are so many other ways, that things would change partially or even completely, in my opinion. So, what do you think? How will the new year be any different from 2020? Well, how the new year might be different from 2020? Hmm. Mm. My brother, let us be honest now. If let us be honest to ourselves, it's only God that has an answer to this question. You know, Come on, I am not a soothsayer. How would I know how the differences? However, I am still positive that we are almost at the end of the tunnel. You know, because of the developments in recent weeks. I am very positive that we are coming to an end to the lockdown, an end to the restrictions, and hopefully very soon we will be returning to normalcy. But to say categorically or exactly how the New Year's is going to differ from 2020, I honestly cannot say. I must be honest, cannot say. You know, with the development of the vaccine, for example, the whole situation might reduce. The whole restrictions might reduce very soon. Not maybe if people take the vaccines, you maybe if you take the vaccine, but hopefully soon we will be returning to normalcy. Hopefully soon, yeah. That's what I think. Yeah. Wow, Mr. Ogoke, thank you so much. Because of time, we'll be coming to an end of the session on the show. But before I let you go, I have one question for you. What was your funniest moment, or what were your funniest moments in 2020? Well, 2020 has been a weird year, right? Of course, we had really sad moments. We lost so many lives to the coronavirus, and beyond that, we lost people to terrorist attacks. Like we had it in Vienna, and we also lost some celebrities, people like Chadwick Boseman, who died of cancer, Kobe Bryant, who died of helicopter crash, and people on board. We also lost Maradona, Diego Maradona, and so many more. However, I feel like there were still moments in 2020 that were quite funny. Like hearing or watching reports about people having to spend one last night outside before the lockdown kicked in the next day. I feel like that was a bit funny to me though, because it kind of reminded me of how people in my community where I grew up, how they shopped for Christmas. So in around my community, my area where I grew up, we have this major market, right? That usually happen every fourth day. It's just like the regular in the Igbo tribe, we have 4 market days, and ours was the AK. So it happened every fourth day. So most people usually waited until the last AK day before Christmas to do their Christmas shopping. And on that day, it is crazy. There you witness different kind of characters, different kind of people, and it's so filled up. And, you could laugh. It's like so many different kind of things. So I just imagined it to people having to spend one last day out before going into the lockdown. So I feel like people might just like want to behave how like in so many funny ways. I just imagine that, and it makes me chuckle. Also, I don't like at some point we had the restriction of like the curfews, right, which began at 8 o'clock in Vienna, and anytime I was going home past the curfew time, right, I I always watched my back to the like. I just felt like, who knows, maybe police would be following me or would stop me. So I always watch my back. I don't know what I wanted to do by watching my back or like being on the alert, as if they call me I'll just run away or something like that. But just thinking about it, sometimes it makes me laugh. And then I like some of the reports about or some of the images or videos that surfaced on the internet about reporters, dressing up properly, right? Their upper bodies were properly dressed up, but underneath, oh my god, they are wearing almost nothing. They're just either wearing their underwear or just something quite unprofessional. And I'm like, oh my god, these guys, just like you are dressed right now. Look at how well you are dressed, but. Oh, so these are some of the funny moments for me in 2020, and there were so many other examples that I can't remember at the moment. Okay, what last words would you say to our viewers as we step move into the new year? Well, I just want to encourage people that there is hope. If we made it this far, I believe God helped us. And I also believe that He will still, take us beyond that, beyond how far we've come. He will take us through 2021, not minding whatever might come our way. So I just want to encourage every one of you, just remain positive and remain hopeful. Believe that, tomorrow is definitely going to be better than today. So I just want to encourage you guys with this. With this, I say a happy new year to every one of you. And thank you once again for having me on the show, Mr. Moderator. It was nice being here. Thank you. Well, thank you once again, Mr. Ogoke, for making our time to join me on the show tonight. I really appreciate you. It was so much fun talking with you. And to my viewers, thank you once again for being there, for watching this episode, this episode on One on One with CHIBUEZE. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. And thank you guys once again for your continued support for King CTV. I really appreciate every one of you. As we come into the new year, as Mr. Ogoke rightly said, just be positive, remain positive, keep being hopeful. I personally hope that in the near future, we will definitely be returning to normalcy. So have a good time with your family, and stay safe, keep yourself safe and keep others safe. And happy new year to every one of you. This is One on One with CHIBUEZE on King CTV.